Okay guys, before we get started, make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube. If you do have any questions, please send them via Instagram, Facebook. If you don't want your name to be attached, just put through as... Oh!
So good as well.
Okay, the first question today comes to us anonymously from Instagram. I know that you promote getting stronger, but I'm inquisitive on the younger boys, like under 16s. If lifting weights can stunt your growth, or is that a myth? If so, can you bust this myth? So to start, I would like to quote a good strength coach from Total Health Performance out Campbelltown Way. Trains a lot of rugby league players out there. He wrote a very quick piece about this a couple of weeks ago, actually. Someone asking when should you train, and his answer was when you're ready. And I think that really sums it up. Is that you can start lifting when you're ready, and what that means is that when you're ready to take your sport seriously, and when you've got enough maturity to be able to get in the gym and to listen to instructions and do the right thing. Is it going to stunt your growth? Absolutely not. If you're training properly, it's going to be fine. Where some of this myth comes from is that developing bones have a growth plate, and there's a difference in strength between bone on one side, growth plate, which is extending out, and bone on the other side, and that there could be a potential weakness there. But if you have a look if you watch kids play, if you watch a 5-year-old jump off a couch, or a 7-year-old jump out of a tree, or even a 15-year-old, grab a fence, pull himself up, leap over and land on the other side, the amount of force that goes through the body is well above what it is that we do in the gym. And we're not talking about going super heavy and doing 1RM lifting and 3s and 4 reps and all that sort of stuff. What we're doing is talking about getting your movement patterns right, improving structural balance. So what structural balance, I know we've talked about this before, what that means is we want to try and get a parity of strength between left and the right side of the body, and a parity of, as much as possible, coordination between the left and the right side of the body. We're talking about opposing muscle groups, so chest and mid-back, the front of the body on the legs, the back of the body on the legs, making sure that their glutes are firing. There is something we see which is super common with kids, just simply because they're at school, they come in, they spend a lot of time, they've been sitting on their bum, so their glutes don't activate properly. We do a lot of work on glute activation. It's about body awareness, you being able to feel, yeah, that's your glutes, that's your quads, that's your upper back, your lats contracting, all of these bits and pieces to get people ready. And then everyone's ready at different stages, and we progress people depending where they're at. But this whole myth that it stunts your growth is absolute garbage. There's no scientific validity to it at all. Sure, you could injure yourself if you're doing the wrong thing, and this is why, how often do we emphasize, don't go into the gym and lift yourself. We've had a bunch of guys come in, even in the last 6 months, we've had 2 guys come in they've both been actually just over 16. And we did some testing, and not too far into the training, we found significant underlying issues, because before coming and working with us, they'd gone into the gym and they wanted to deadlift heavy, and they saw like Steve Maddai, these videos on Instagram of him deadlifting all this weight, and they're like, bro, I've got to get strong. I've seen him doing this. I want to get in there. I've got to be deading 240 off the ground, and all this other crap. That's how people are going to get injured. Okay, a good, properly written strength program for someone who's been assessed properly is not going to injure them. Not only is it not going to injure them, it's actually going to make them less likely to get injured, and it's going to improve their athleticism. You want to say something on this?
I'll touch on it slightly. So basically, what we are trying to say as well is not much load through the exercises that we're doing. You can even start off as bodyweight if they are really young.
Even something, because we do hear a lot of people, you'll say, oh, we just want to do bodyweight training. But I'm not a big proponent of okay, let's just do bodyweight training, because if you've got someone who's trying to do a pull movement pattern, like a pull up, what we call a vertical pull, like a pull up or a chin up or whatever, most kids aren't going to get anywhere near being able to pull their body weight up. So if you've got a kid who, he can do a push up, he can do a squat, he can do a squat jump, he can do some of those things. But this is why, using the equipment in the gym, we can still train a vertical pull movement pattern using a lat pull down machine with a submaximal load. Maybe it's 15 kilos, maybe it's 10 kilos, and he's doing a single arm pull down. Yeah. He's not going to be injuring himself, but he is going to be getting stronger. He's going to be learning the movement patterns. He's going to be improving his coordination. He's going to be improving imbalances between left and right side, for instance. So when we give the kids an exercise, let's say a single arm pull down, we have them train one side, we have them train the other. We see, okay, which is your weak side? Oh, your left side's weaker than your right. Okay, well, for this set, you're going to be trying to do 15 reps with 7 kilos on your left side. When the kid doing it with proper technique, if it can only get 12 or 13, then on your dominant side, you don't keep doing 15 because, yeah, you're going to get stronger, but if there's an imbalance, you're just going to go from here to here. So you're still going to have that imbalance. So what we would say is we only do as many reps on the strong side as we can on the weak side. And occasionally we find a kid where there's a really, really big strength disparity between the two. And we may even do a little bit more work, as in an extra set or two on that weak side to try and bring it up to parity. And once you've got parity, they're much less likely to get injured. And their improvement from that point forward is much better because the load is spread right across the structures as it should be. So,
yeah, the misconception of lifting heavy to gain muscle is a misconception. So basically, because it's single arm and because it's high repetitions and it's controlled exercises, so using tempo, so lowering the weight slowly, which makes it much more difficult.
Everything we do is controlled. Again, if you just have them go,
brings the load right down.
Yeah, it does. The load comes right down. It's one of those things. Is you're not going to be training your ego when you're training properly. You see a lot of guys go to the gym, and these could be over 18s, they could be 16, 17-year-olds, or even kids that send us a video of them lifting because their dad's got weights. This is a common one. Some parents will say, oh, I've got weights at home, he can just lift it at home. And we watch them training. If you don't keep an eye on them, their tempo, let's say it's a shoulder press, and we have them lifting and then lowering in a nice, slow, controlled movement. If you don't keep your eye on them, it turns into this. It looks more like they're dancing than actually doing a shoulder press movement. But that's when they're going to get injured. And that's when they're training on their own. And this is why we keep harping on it. Send them to somewhere where there is a strength coach or a trainer or someone who knows what they're doing to ensure that they do things properly. If you do it properly, your chances of injury are very, very small, and then your chances of injury in a game are actually going to go down. They're going to get stronger, and their performance is going to improve. So if you do it properly, the whole thing is a myth, it's garbage, it still persists, somewhat a little bit like the whole, lifting weights slows you down. That's another one that you hear. No, it doesn't slow you down. And we're not training them like bodybuilders, right? We're training them as athletes. If you want to get faster, the quickest way to get faster is to get stronger so that you can apply more force into the ground so you can propel your body along. That and dropping down body fat, they're the two quickest ways for you to improve your strength. For you to improve your speed. Lifting, it's not going to slow you down. It's not going to stunt your growth. You do it properly. Anything else to... That's pretty much it. Yeah. This really, we get asked this a lot by parents. It really pisses us off. The next two questions are kind of related. Well, that's why I've done them this way. We'll get the first one, and then the second one's going to draw a little bit on the first one. So they're both via Instagram. One comes from Jack, one's anonymous. We'll go this one first, anonymous. I'm trying to find out how much I'm eating so I can lose weight. Is there a website I can use to make it easier? So we have all of our guys use MyFitnessPal. Do you want to explain how that works?
It's an app that basically tracks your calories. So if you're entering in the food that you eat, you need to be a bit specific with how many grams of chicken, and for example, that you're having, and what type of rice and so forth, whether it's white rice, brown rice. But that's as complicated as it gets. But you basically, if you track all your food, it'll calculate all the calories. It'll tell us how much of those calories are protein, carbs, fats, and it gives us basically an insight on what you're eating, and it allows us to give you a recommendation on what you should be eating based on the calories that you've shown us.
So we're not looking at diet plans here. It's simply a matter, and we've mentioned this before. I think a couple of episodes we've had some people that are looking to gain weight. If you're looking to lose weight, which is what you're asking here, you need to create a calorie deficit. So what we would do is download the app, MyFitnessPal, get it onto your phone, start to enter the food in, and look, you'll enter in, how many grams of chicken or rice or whatever, but don't overthink it. Just enter the food in as best you can. You'll get better at entering it in the more frequently that you do it. And usually it takes the boys, when they come into the program, a couple of weeks to adjust before they're actually getting, 90%, 95% of the food that they're putting in, they're getting it fairly accurately. Then we get an idea. So let's say you're 80 kilos and you want to get to 75. Enter everything you're eating over the course of a week, and you might find that on average you're eating 2,400 calories. And okay, that's fairly accurate, that's cool. We put in a little bit of a deficit. Let's say go to 2,100 calories. So there's a 300 calorie deficit a day. 7 days is 2,100. That's 300 grams. ish, 200-300 grams of body fat a week you should be losing. If you want to lose a little bit more, you can increase those decrease the calories, so increase the deficit a little bit more. So instead of 300, you could have it at 400 or 450. Use the app, enter the food in. It's even, if you're eating things that are coming out of packets, it's even easier. There's a little option on it. There's a little barcode up in the right-hand corner. When you click on to add food, you click on the barcode, the camera will come up and you just simply scan the food or the drink or whatever it is that you're having. If it does have a barcode, and it enters all the details in. It's really, really easy.
As well as it saves you history. So if you're the type of person that eats the same food often, then you just need to go back into your search history.
Yeah, that's a big one. A lot of people, but it took me 15 minutes to do yesterday and that was day one. It's like, but when you look at it on day two, if you click, let's say every morning you have, 2 pieces of toast with jam. This is not a good breakfast, by the way. I'm just using an example. 2 pieces of toast with jam and you have a cup of orange juice. Let's say you do that on the Monday. You come to the Tuesday, as soon as you go to add breakfast, you hit breakfast, it'll show everything that you've entered in before, right? And then as soon as you click on the toast, it'll come up in the app items that you usually pair this with. And it'll say, the jam and the orange juice. And it's just click, click. So literally, the day before it took you 15 minutes to enter your breakfast. This day it takes you 15 seconds. It's literally like 4 clicks on the phone and it's in. All the information's in there. And so usually over 1 or 2 weeks, most of the things that you eat, you'll enter in there and then they're permanently stored in the phone. And it's really, really quick. And the software realizes what you normally have with that. Pair, it's easy. Yes? Yep. I think that some of the other questions that you may have in regards to this will get answered in this next question, which comes to us via Instagram from Jack. Hey guys, I was wondering if you had any good ideas on a diet to help me become that little bit more lighter so I can play in the position I would rather play. So, start tracking your food. That's number 1, which we just talked about. Now, what are the 3 things that we tell everyone if you're looking to lose weight the right way, which means you want to lose body fat, not lean tissue? What are the 3 things?
Lift weight, create a calorie deficit,
and eat sufficient protein. So, what is sufficient protein? General rule of thumb that we run with is around about 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. You can look, the research can go from anywhere from 1.6 to 2.2. Normally we just say to aim for around about 2 grams of kilo per body weight. So you want to get a little bit lighter. Let's say you're at 80 kilos, okay? So 2 grams per kilo of body weight of protein is going to be around about 160 grams of protein you want to get in per day.
That's not 160 grams of chicken or meats.
No.
It's 160 grams of protein you get out of the chicken.
Yeah, this is a big one. So general rule of thumb, if you have 100 grams of chicken, there's going to be, 22, 23, 24 grams of protein in that 100 grams of chicken. Does that make sense? So you need to figure out and do your math on that beforehand. It's not most people, all it is just a little bit of chicken breast. Yeah, and it's a little bit more than that, okay? Why are we having that much protein when we're trying to lose weight? Because it has a muscle sparing effect. Let's say you want to lose 5 kilos to play in that position. Let's say you're a center and you're a little bit overweight and you want to get a little bit quicker and whatnot. Maybe you're playing in the back row and you want to move out to the centers, but the coach has said, you've got to get a little bit faster, maybe lose some fat. And you're like, okay, I want to do it the right way. So you're going to have 2 grams of protein per kilo of body fat, per kilo of body weight, sorry. So that's 160 grams. I've lost my train of thought now. Why was I saying, why is the protein important? Of course, I'm getting old now, you see. Grey hairs here. Why is the protein important? It has a muscle sparing effect. So when you create a calorie deficit, your body wants to hang on to fat as much as it can, and it would rather burn off muscle tissue because muscle tissue is expensive to keep alive. Okay, so there's a couple of things that we know will I guess, cause your body to want to hang on to that muscle mass. One of those is resistance training, so lifting weights. Lifting weights because you need to lift that heavy rock every 2 or 3 days or whatever it happens to be. Your body will say to itself, well, I need to hang on to the muscle because he keeps lifting that rock. He wouldn't lift that rock if he didn't need to, so I need this muscle. I'm going to have to hang on to that and I'm going to burn body fat instead. It says, and we get a similar thing from protein ingestion. Both protein ingestion and lifting weights stimulate what we call MPS, or muscle protein synthesis. That's triggering your body to maintain, to hang on to build muscle. So the more of that we can do, whilst we're in a caloric deficit, means that a greater proportion of the weight that you lose will be body fat and not lean tissue. So 3 things we need to do. Protein, we've talked about, around about 2 grams per kilo of body weight. Secondly, resistance training, preferably hypertrophy type resistance training, which is resistance training. Hypertrophy simply means trying to make the muscles bigger, or the kind of training that is going to increase muscle size. Now, if you're in a deficit, it might not increase size, but it will be the most efficient way for you to maintain the size that you do have. Yeah? Yep. And the third thing is to create a deficit, which we've talked about before. The rule of thumb that we use for the maximum amount of weight that you want to lose within a given point of time. Now, remember this one, write it down. It's 0.007 times your body weight. So 007, James Bond, but you're all probably too young to remember that. Maybe your dad's watching it, he knows 007. 007, James Bond times your body weight. So if you're a 100 kilo guy times 0.007, that's around about 700 grams per week of fat. If you try to go above that, more than likely you're going to start to burn off some fairly significant amounts of lean tissue. Stay around about that range. So a 700 gram deficit, a 700 gram fat loss over the course of a week is a deficit of around about what? So 7,700 calories in 1 kilogram of body fat. So we're looking at around about 70% of that, which is probably 5,500 calories.
Around there.
So let's say it's 5,500 calories. You divide that over 7 days. What's that? I'm making you do some maths now. Don't get that out. Your thing will stop. So look, you're probably, Nikki, can you tell me what it is? What's 5,500 divided by 7?
Maths is not our strong suit.
I'm actually good at maths. Joan's going to call me out on this one now.
785.
785. So you need a deficit of 785. That's a lot. That's why we don't necessarily recommend that you go for the maximum amount. I'd much rather you go for a deficit of say 400 or 500 calories a day. So if you're going for, if your maintenance level, which we talked about before, finding your maintenance, if your maintenance is at 2,400, you might subtract 500 from that. So it's 1,900. Make sure you hit your protein goal. Make sure you lift weights. Hit your 1,900 calorie mark and the body fat will start to come off. It's really, and then you just need to adjust, because remembering everyone's metabolism runs at a slightly different rate. Best way to find out what it is what we just mentioned in the last question, is eat what you normally eat for a period of time. Track that, find out how many calories you are, and you know, okay, 2,400, I'm not gaining, I'm not losing, it's roughly where my metabolism is. Subtract from there. It's really not that complicated. So to summarize, 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight, roughly, create a calorie deficit, lift weights. Those 3 things, you do that, and you're going to lose weight the right way, which means you're going to be losing body fat primarily, and not muscle. Yep. What have I left out, if anything? No? No, that's the right way to go about doing it. Yeah. That was our last question for today. Please subscribe on YouTube. If you do have any questions, send them Instagram or Facebook. If you don't want us to mention your name, just put anonymous in the question. Please send as much detail as possible. Put as much detail as possible in the question. A lot of questions that we get are very generic. Give us 2 paragraphs. Outline your height, your age, your weight, how many years you've been playing, what level you're playing at now, what position you're playing in, what training, if anything, you're doing at the moment, all of that sort of stuff. Give us as much detail as you possibly can. We'll be able to help you in the best way that we can. Cheers.